It is. So, to start today, as you know, we are going to focus on the first objective of the mission soil, that it's titled Reducing the Land Degradation Relating to Desertification. And this is our agenda. We are going to hear and discuss how to tackle this critical issue. To start, and before we dive into our discussion, let's take a moment to reflect on a single question. And I would like to each one of you to drop a word in the chat to describe the condition of soil in your area. We already have some words here, compressed and dry. I will give you just 1 more minute. And remember, there are no wrong answers, and feel free to be creative. Lack of knowledge, degraded, dry. So I think that we can start our session. So, but first of all, for those who might be new, my colleague Luis is going to give you an overview of what is SoilTribes project.
Yes, so hi, welcome everyone. As you can see from the previous activity where we asked that how is your soil, we could see that the soil is facing a lot of issues and erosions and other types of activities, and that's why the SoilTribes also came from. So basically, SoilTribes is an Europe program and projects from the Innova Plus, the coordinator. So it's a 3 years project, 25 partners and 11 countries that are involved. And the aim of the SoilTribes project is to establish, activate, and empower local ecosystems for the soil values, for the roles, and to connect the science, the technologies, the arts, and also the communities to promote the community-driven actions so that we can have impact in soil preservation and also the dissemination of soil literacy. This is the main objective of the project. We are right now in the first phase of implementation, so we started this year. And me and Carolina, we are responsible for the community of practice, as Carolina said. It's one of the main activities of the project, but we are also delivering other type of activities with actors. We're developing some soil tales to reach the community and to improve the knowledge of the soils and also the consciousness of the soils for the protection. And our objective is, of course, try to engage as much as possible the communities, people, and the network. That's why we are promoting these meetups to foster the knowledge. They are open to everyone who wants to join us. This is the second meetup, and we are going to promote 14. Welcome, everyone, and now we can pass to the presentation of the speakers.
Exactly, as Luis already mentioned, today we are going to have a session dedicated to soil desertification and to how to reduce desertification. And we have with us 4 speakers. Thank you for joining us. And I would like to ask each one of you in 1 minute to present yourselves. Niels, maybe you can start.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Niels Broodaerts. I'm working at the EU Soil Observatory, hosted at the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. And at the USO, I'm responsible for soil monitoring, and for that, I'm using and coordinating our USO soil degradation dashboard, our main platform to inform the wider public and policymakers on the state of soils in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you. Diana?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Diana Vieira. I work with Niels in the EU Soil Observatory. I have been following the soil monitoring law and providing support, and I have a background on mostly on soil processes like erosion and burned areas, and yeah, you'll see a little bit of my work. Thank you.
Thank you. Maja, please, from Mona Lisa Project.
Hello, everyone. Just a little correction. It's Maya.
Sorry.
No, it's no problem. In Serbian, J is Ira. But thank you. I'm an environmental engineer. I'm here representing Mona Lisa Project. And I work as dissemination, communication, and exploitation coordinator for Mona Lisa Project. So I will be presenting an overview of Mona Lisa Project. I work for a small SME, Innocence, in Serbia. So our soil in Serbia is a little bit different to what we are seeing in Mona Lisa Project, but we also see the impact of desertification and climate change. So today I will be talking about our project. What do we do regarding stakeholders engagement and community of knowledge as we have it, and etc. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that we have already with us Giovanna.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Yes, I'm Giovanna Seddaio. My background is on agronomy and crop science. I'm associate professor at the University of Sassari in Italy, and I'm the project coordinator of Mona Lisa that was already introduced by Maya. So I'm delighted to be here this evening.
Thank you. So I think that now we can start because you don't want to hear me. You want to hear Niels from the EU Soil Observatory. So please, Niels, feel free to take control of the presentation and to start.
Okay, thank you. Do you want me to share my screen?
Yes, you can share your screen.
Okay, normally you should see it.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, thank you very much for giving me the floor and giving me the opportunity to talk about the role of the EU Soil Observatory in regarding monitoring soil degradation and desertification. I will start here with a few numbers just to introduce the presentation and this meeting. So we have clear evidence that above 60% of our soils in the EU are unhealthy and are degraded. And we have also clear evidence that this is associated with a great cost. It's estimated at 50 billion euros per year associated cost with soil degradation. We also see that 25% of land in southern, central, and eastern Europe is at high risk of desertification, and we have thousands and thousands of contaminated sites to remediate it. So this shows that the time to act is indeed now, and that we need a strong scientific community to tackle these problems, and that we need policy actions to deal with these problems. And that is why the EU has set up a framework for soil protection. And this framework for soil protection shown on this slide here is built up of 3 pillars. We have one indicated here in green. The first one is the policy framework, which consists of the EU soil strategy for 2030 and the upcoming soil monitoring law. We have a second pillar indicated in yellow, which is the mission SOIL, which is the main funding mechanism for research and innovation. And then thirdly, we have the EU SOIL Observatory, which is the main provider of data, knowledge, and tools to support policies related to soils, and as the main platform for data and soil monitoring. And today I will introduce you to the EU Soil Observatory and show you what our main objectives and activities are. So to start with here, this overview of the objectives of the USO. So overall, the main objective is to provide data, tools, and knowledge to support EU soil policies and to monitor, safeguard, and restore EU soils. And next to that, we have also objectives to support research, to involve stakeholders, to enhance the European Soil Data Center, and to monitor our soils. And in the next few slides, I will guide you through these objectives and activities to give you a clear picture of what the EU Soil Observatory is doing regarding soil degradation and desertification. So first objective is the EU-wide soil monitoring. For this, we are mainly using the Lucas Soil Survey, which is the EU-wide standardized, harmonized soil monitoring campaign, which has been taking place in 2009, 15, 18, and 22. It contains more than 40,000 sampling locations, and it's a very important source of information because it allows us to create EU-wide data sets for soil properties and for soil degradation indicators. It's a very important source for information for policy supports, and also it's the main source of information to build our user soil degradation dashboard. In these dashboards, we are combining 19 soil degradation indicators for which we have EU-wide data sets, and we are combining this in our dashboard using thresholds and one-out, all-out approach, and that allows us to indicate where soils in the EU are degraded or where they are unhealthy. And based on the current available data, we see that above 60% of the soils are degraded. Third aspect of USO is the European Soil Data Center, which is the main platform for soil scientific data and knowledge, and which is the single stop shop for soil data in the EU. We have more than 100 data sets, thousands of maps, and scientific documents. Next part is the supporting soil research. At USO, we have our in-house research, and this results in more than 40 scientific publications each year. We are also responsible for the soil monitoring elements within the Mission Soil. We are working in close collaboration with Mission Soil projects to enhance this soil monitoring and to develop new indicators and to improve our monitoring of our soils in the EU. And then next, we are also supporting citizen engagement and soil literacy. For that, we are organizing courses, conferences, publishing atlases. But the main event is our User Stakeholders Forum. Last month in June, we had a very successful online event on EU soils and EU competitiveness. And in September, we will have the in-person meeting at the Eurosol conference in Seville. And then later in October, we will have an online event again on soil literacy and Mediterranean soils. And then all these activities all together, they all are there to support policy making related to soils. So we contribute to the soil monitoring law, and Diana, my colleague, will tell you a bit more on that after my presentation. We have the support to the EU soil strategy and emission soil. We are publishing science for policy reports. And also we are developing an updated methodology for land degradation and desertification monitoring. And that will be the subject of my second part of my presentation. so in the second part of the presentation, I will briefly introduce you in the updated European methodology for land degradation and desertification monitoring, which is now being developed, which is now under review. And this is mainly the work of my colleague Calogero Schillaci, who couldn't be here today because he's on leave, but I will guide you through the slides on this desertification monitoring. The starting point for this updated methodology was the recommendation of the European Court of Auditors in 2018, and that said that the European Commission and member states should establish a methodology to assess the extent of land degradation and desertification in the EU, and to present the resulting data in a user-friendly way to the wider public. And that is why the GRC is now adapting and updating the UNCCD approach to assess land degradation in the EU. The standard UNCCD approach to assess land degradation consists of three indicators which are then combined. And these three indicators are first land productivity. We have a second indicator on land cover changes, and then a third indicator on soil organic carbon, which is representing soil degradation. And then the combination of these three indicators result then in an indicator of land area that is degraded. So that's the standard UNCCD approach. And what my colleague Calogero is now doing is proposing an updated methodology for the assessment of land degradation in EU, again with these three indicators, but with an updated methodology. So there is an updated and improved assessment of land productivity, an improved assessment of land cover changes, and an improved assessment of soil degradation. So we're not only taking into account soil organic carbon, but we are taking into account a more comprehensive assessment of soil degradation using our user soil degradation dashboard. In this dashboard, we have all these different indicators that are included, so it is a more comprehensive assessment of soil degradation. And then again, taking these three indicators all together, using one out all out approach, we then have an updated assessment of land degradation in the EU. And we see that this updated methodology results in an increase, of course, an increase in land degradation in the EU compared to the default UNCCD approach. And then in the next step, this estimated land degradation in EU is then translated into an estimation of desertification, where desertification is defined as land degradation occurring in drylands. So we are using the aridity index to define which areas are in arid or in drylands. And so then we come up with an estimation, an assessment of desertification in the EU. This is then a map showing these results of this updated methodology, and we see that around 12% of the EU is then affected by desertification, affecting around 40 million people. This methodology is currently under review, so it's on a review and will be updated based on the outcome of the review process. And we are also constructing and developing a dashboard showing this estimation of land degradation and desertification in the EU. But that's still work in progress to be there in the next few months. And with that, I thank you for your attention, and I will be happy to take your questions now or later in the discussion.
Thank you. And now I think that, I don't know if anyone has a question. So I think that we can move for the next topic. We are going to hear from Diana with the team Sustainable Management Practices. Diana, the floor is yours. Catherine?
There's one hand, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've had a hard time getting it to work. I'm wondering how much of the assessments that you're doing, and you talk about desertification and being arid, but is there any way of measuring the amount of moisture in the land? I'm not sure if I'm clear, but
I perhaps I can help because I also help Calogero in this. So when Calogero used the aridity in the index, he used climatic variables like long-term temperature and precipitation and evapotranspiration to delineate approximately areas in which you had more evapotranspiration than precipitation, leading to an arid, let's say, drier condition. And he used this threshold. I'm guessing that's the question where that's the point you wanted to mention. He didn't measure the moisture in the soil in this case, but he determined an aridity index based with climatic variables, if it clarifies a little bit.
So I'm hearing temperature as one of those variables. And what else did you mention?
It's precipitation and evapotranspiration. Basically, if you have above a certain threshold of evaporation, let's say, or evapotranspiration from that land in comparison with the precipitation, if that threshold is very high, there's no capacity to retain moisture, and it starts to become more difficult. I don't remember the threshold used, but I believe Calogero used the global data sets and inclusively used a threshold that is quite used in literature. But I'm pretty sure we can ask him to reply later if you want to do a detailed question about it.
Okay, I really appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, if I can add on that, so we have the aridity index, which is based on climate information, which is just comparing precipitation and potential evapotranspiration. And if that index is below, if I remember correctly, 0.65, then it's categorized as dryland, and then land degradation in dryland results then in desertification.
Okay, and you can see changes as if it improved, for instance.
Yes, what Calogero is, for instance, doing is running a few climate scenarios to see what the result will be in, for instance, 2050 or 2100, and because then, precipitation and evapotranspiration patterns will change, and so your aridity index will change, and so also desertification will change. So he's also looking into that. Yes.
And the changes are based on climate shifts?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So Diana, I think you can go.
Okay, so my apologies as I don't have a presentation. I'll just talk for a little bit of a change. I was hoping to do a more interactive presentation, but unfortunately the time didn't allow for me. It was not possible for me. So I'll try to bring my message to you in one go and within time. So basically, I wanted to bring a little bit the topic of sustainable management practices. This is something we always aim to have, and within the soil monitoring law, when we pushed for the law or the proposal at the beginning, there was one thing that was written there. There was one of the most important things that would be that sustainable management practice should be the norm. The application of sustainable management practices should be the norm, but that is rather difficult thing to implement. So, as you are also scientists, I understand you all understand the concept of soil health, and that we need always to keep a physical, organic component of soil improved, basically. And in the case of the soil monitoring law, the ambition is to bring soils to a good soil health, which means that is to provide ecosystem services as much as possible. This was the initial definition when we approached the soil monitoring law. And we can name, I imagine you are aware of many of the ecosystem services provided by soil, but for instance, water regulation was a very important one for the case of extreme events to control flooding, but also extended periods of dry conditions that are, for instance, leading also to land degradation. Among others are other topics that are not here, but are also considered, and they are, for instance, not so often considered. Soil pollution is also a degradation factor, despite it often is not well associated. But among the entire ecosystem services provided by soil, we also have a huge list of soil threats, no? You have issues with soil erosion, losses of organic carbon, nutrient imbalances, salinization, very typical from areas with in desertification. Also, the loss of soil biodiversity, acidification, compaction, that actually they were mentioned in the chat, and among others. And these threats or these major threats are mostly interacting with each other. And we have seen that if the application of sustainable management practices would be the norm, then the degradation could be reversible in many places. However, what we have seen is that a continuous degradation on many places, as you can see in the EU Soil Observatory, as Niels previously mentioned. And this building up of threats and degradations have led to the conditions in which we are right now, which is approximately 62% of EU soils under at least on a potential degradation type. So in general, we worked on trying to reduce the suggestions that we had always in mind were always to follow the basic principles of sustainable soil management. They are minimizing soil disturbances, you know, like reduced tillage or no tillage, preserving organic matter, and mostly reducing soil erosions. These three basic things would already cover most of the threats and the highest coverage of degradation types that we have seen in the EU Soil Observatory. For instance, we also and the soil monitoring law wants to make a push for the monitoring to try to understand if we can do an enhancing of soil organic matter to try to improve nutrient cycling and try to improve water retention, always in that base, and also to give a boost to the biological activity, because we are very concerned with the loss of soil biodiversity. In general, among those things are also the maintenance of soil cover, which seems to be very important. There's a general trend and practice in many land managers and farmers to reduce soil cover, and this might lead to problems of erosion that we want to prevent. Soil erosion is a big problem in EU. We have a topography that facilitates that, but we also have years of degradation processes from our side, from humans, leading to this type of degradation that we also need to push for. Furthermore, we also would like to suggest that there are very innovative approaches and technologies, because we know that diagnosis is one of the first things. Monitoring soil and soil conditions is one of the key things to identify the areas that are under higher threat of degradation. This step was done also by us and in EU Soil Observatory. That's why we have the maps and everything. So we targeting areas with higher degradation or with degradation hotspots is the first step, but then we need to locate these areas and act locally to try to reverse these degradation processes. The best places to start will be these hotspots as identified in EU Soil Observatory. And we are very keen to make use of nature-based solutions. I'll try to be very, very fast. I know that I'm going a little bit more of time. I still have a little bit more of time. So the use of nature-based solutions are important in the sense that we try to replicate and use the same base as nature has to prevent the degradation, in this case for having cover or improve fertility or carbon sequestration. But there's other areas that we should take into consideration. And here comes a very important part of the soil monitoring law. Soil degradation or soil health should be in all soils. And most of the things that I named to you are actions and practices that are easily implemented or are thought to be implemented for agricultural land. What about all these areas that we have with semi-natural areas, with forests, with burnt areas, which were some of which I studied for so many years, that need restoration, rehabilitation after an impactful event. Those also need. So we need to target and manage very well what the type of management practice we want to do, and make sure we address them case by case into the characteristics of each type of land. Because if we are talking about a burnt area or a polluted area or an area that is not managed, like a semi-forest area and an agricultural area, we have here at least 4 situations that are completely different. All right. So in general speaking, I think that, again, in terms of policy supporting soil conservation, we are going in the right direction. I mean, we have implemented the soil monitoring law, but in principle, there is no mandatory implementation of soil management practices. However, that should, after we observe and diagnose the soil condition within the soil monitoring law, we will realize we'll need to take action, and by itself, the results of the monitoring will already be highlighting for that. And then is when you have to act and implement sustainable conservation practices in the place. And another point, which is within the soil mission and the project that is here, is the fact that we need to fund more soil research to try to solve the particular problems we have in all different soils all over Europe. And these at least 2 steps are in the right way at the EU level. However, there is still some separation between, there is no strong emphasis and mandatory effort made by policies to implement management practices, because it's very diverse type of soils that we have all over Europe, and the execution or create general laws that apply to all European soils is really something really difficult to implement. But we need to first get the results of the first monitoring, EU monitoring, the soil monitoring law, and then we will start building up the practices that we need to implement. Well, I think this is it. Thank you for allow me to speak a little bit. My apologies for being so without a presentation, but I think it's to be a little bit more informal. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I think that we can jump to Mona Lisa project. Catherine, please.
One quick question. Are you also looking at forests?
Yes, despite, I don't know if you are aware of the Lucas survey, which is the database we use for most of our assessments currently. We have a bias towards agricultural areas, but we still have forest areas. And we have a forest observatory in the JRC too. So we should expectably be able to look deeply to soil condition in forests, more particularly throughout the future, because the soil monitoring law is for all soils. And even the ones that haven't been very well studied, like urban, forests, or other areas that are not really covered in general. All right.
Thank you. Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maya?
Hello, everyone. Do you see my screen, my presentation?
Yes, it's
okay,
perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. Firstly, I want to thank you to SoilTribes project for initiating this meetup. It's really great to combine knowledge and to represent our project here, because it's really highly connected to exactly what the previous presenter was talking about. So Mona Lisa is a EU soil mission project titled Monitoring and Assessing Prevention and Restoration Solutions to Combat Desertification. The presentation will be delivered by myself and our colleague Giovanna Dragonetti from SIAM, as we are Mona Lisa's Work Package 5 coordinators, which deals with dissemination, communication, and exploitation. And our project coordinator, Giovanna Sadayo, is here for so we can join forces for questions, any questions you might have for us. So I will try to be in time. So first overview of Mona Lisa in a few numbers. We started 1st September last year, and the project is lasting for 48 months. We have 20 partners, 2 associated partners, and 1 affiliated entity in 9 countries. The coordinating entity is the University of Sassari in Italy. And the main goal of Mona Lisa is to identify and promote innovative tailored solutions to combat land degradation and desertification. Our approach is significantly closer to the community and local stakeholders, so co-design, co-implementation, and co-assessment. So a lot of co's, but why? Because as we said, there are different types of soils, different problems in different parts of Europe. So it is really important to acknowledge the local knowledge of people that are dealing with soil on a regular basis, not just researchers, of course, and policymakers, but also the local knowledge and stakeholders that are dealing with the problems on site. Then what are we doing? We are sharing our knowledge through InfoHub and community of knowledge that we are installing. So this is a great opportunity to connect with your community. And what is our most important output? Not the only, but the most important one is going to be a multimodular decision support system. Sorry. And how are we going to do that? We're going to do that through 6 case studies that are connected in 5 countries. I'm going to talk in detail about every case study and in which country they are. And the solutions that are targeted through Mona Lisa project are nature-based and high-tech solutions for combating land degradation and desertification. From grazing techniques, different grazing and innovative techniques to water harvesting. So Mona Lisa case studies. We have 5 countries, so Spain, Italy, Tunisia, Greece, and Palestine. And we have 6 case studies. One is Los Pedroches in Cordoba, Spain, with aridity index of 0.45. So different aridity indexes showing different types of land degradation and process of desertification. Then Bercina Monti in Italy, Sardinia, with aridity index of 0.53. Then Medellin, Tunisia, which is the most dry case study here, aridity index 0.10. Alta Murgia again in Italy, aridity index 0.5. Astarousia in Crete, Greece, aridity index of 0.55, and Beidajan, aridity index of 0.335. What is complex in these case studies is that, as already said, different soil types, different problems, and different drivers of land degradation and desertification, which is why Mona Lisa is really necessary as a project, because it assesses different types of solutions. So natural-based solutions and high-tech solutions. High-tech solutions are mostly connected to the water harvesting, irrigation with treated wastewater, and precision water management, and are connected to the case studies in Tunisia, so Medellin, and Beidajan in Palestine, and 4 others in Italy, Spain, and Greece are mostly connected to the solutions that are nature-based solutions. So ecological restoration, conservation agriculture practices, innovative grazing system, microbial-based solutions, organic fertilizers, and amendments. So in the first, now we are in 11th month, but in the first 18 months, Mona Lisa is organizing field trips to each case study to see what are the real problems, and to, let's say, cross-fertilize solutions that are already tried successfully or unsuccessfully in different case studies, and to share knowledge between stakeholders, so farmers and land managers, but also Mona Lisa partners, researchers, and other institutions. So what are the key results of the Mona Lisa project? Design, implement, and assess of innovation solutions to prevent and reverse land degradation and desertification. We are trying to find 5 groups of solutions. First one would be innovative grazing systems with multi-paddock grazing system, or with GPS collars, organic fertilizer and amendments, and microbiological based solutions. Then the third group is conservation agriculture. The fourth group is going to be water-related solutions. And in the end, we have natural ecosystem and agroecosystem restoration. The most important key exploitable result, as I already said, is web-based multi-modular decision support system that is going to help stakeholders to find the best solution for them that we already tried in our case studies, and provide to them what are the pluses, minuses, and what they can do to help themselves, or to choose the solution that is most suitable for their problems. Modules that we are identified that is going to be in the decision support system are module for fertilization, module for irrigation and water management, module for grazing systems, and module for natural habitat restoration. Next, we have what we want to develop is European and Mediterranean desertification risk information system through Work Package 3 and Work Package 5, through methodological framework for monitoring and assessing desertification risk, through 45 maps of 100-meter resolution of sensitivity to land degradation desertification, land degradation desertification status and hotspots for 15 European countries. And through our community of knowledge that we hope that is going to be connected to yours, with over 300 stakeholders. And how are we going to do that? How we imagine to do it is to focus on environmental, social, and economic data, but also to integrate integrate Earth observation data and derived products and thematic data at different spatial scales. How are we, let's say, how are we reaching our heightening our visibility, and how are we reaching out the community? Through a joint community. So we already have a joint community between a community of knowledge of Mona Lisa and our sister project, TerraSafe, a community of practice, which is why are they important? To connect people, to share the knowledge and discuss on these themes, and promote joint activities, proposals, and initiatives. So if you would like to join, please feel free through our website. You can join the community of knowledge. And we are trying to support project results, scaling out and exploitation, and share collection of resources that we have with the projects, with different projects. What are the key activities of the community? Knowledge groups, discussions, co-organization on conferences, sessions and events, joint publications, etc. But also cafe talks, which are already published on our YouTube channel. I will leave the few links in the chat so you can go through it. And we have annual open calls for young researchers, which is really interesting because we are going to try to promote young researchers and what they do in the scope of land degradation and desertification. And if you would like to get more information and news from us through this, you can subscribe to our newsletter. What we did through Community of Knowledge by now, it's a joint Mona Lisa and TerraSafe session on EGU 2025, which was really successful. Then we had the first cafe talk, which is already on YouTube. You can watch it now. And we had the joint Mona Lisa and TerraSafe webinar on the 17th of June, which is World Day to Combat Desertification and Drought, on the team on innovation for tackling desertification. This recording is also on our YouTube channel. You can watch it if you're interested in. What I would really like to say is about Mona Lisa Open Call for Young Researchers, which is, I think, with a very good opportunity for young researchers to be promoted and to get a bit of funding for, let's say, participating in a conference to promote their work. The eligibility is PhD students, recent PhD graduates, less or equal to 3 years of graduation, master's students, and research scholarship holders under 40, working on soil degradation, desertification, restoration, sustainability, and climate change impacts. What is expected is European Conference on Desertification and Mediterranean, which is going to be organized with our sister project and with support of a joint research center in Brussels, and the community meeting in Rome in person in 2027. This is all from me, but I'm going to leave the floor to my colleague Giovanna Dragonetti, which is leading the clustering and synergies segment of Mona Lisa project. Giovanna?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for this initiative. So briefly, we will just present to you the activity that was carried out and are still ongoing about, let's say, framing a cooperation with other projects. So as you see, the project has many objectives, many scenarios, or many data and let's say outcomes that in such a way can be capitalized in order, let's say, to harmonize all of these results. For that reason, in Mona Lisa, we want to create a sort of cooperative approach which integrated many other projects that are experienced, that acquired the knowledge about, let's say, the land degradation and desertification. In this, so we did a first event at the end of January, where we talk about let's share the synergy, because what we have to do is try, let's say, to network, to create a network of all of this knowledge. And so we invited 20 projects, but of course this is opened for others. And just to conclude it, so in this meeting, so we let's say we formulated, let's say, four focus area that we want to discuss it in the next workshop. That one we hope to organize it on the 21st October in person in Siam in Bari, the Agronomic Institute. So the idea is to discuss to how harmonize the methodology, quindi so align a method for land degradation and how to so early you talk about, for example, sustainable management practices. So how to implement it in different context, different case study, different scenario, different conditions, in terms of climate, in terms of the soil. So will be very important to find, let's say, a join point. And then also will be important to enhance the governance for land degradation and desertification. Quindi so strengthening governance with a stakeholder and experts, in order, let's say, to for supported this initiative, and also, for example, developing another area that scalable solution, quindi so created and implemented the solution for addressing land degradation and desertification, and also, let's say, how to capitalize this data, quindi so promoting data sharing and knowledge dissemination, quindi so exchange the data to create it, I don't know, sort of platform or anyway some channel where all this information can be consulted or can be shared with others, experts, but experts not only research, but different level of experts, for a farmer to, let's say, to the government, to the any policymaker. Okay, I think I will stop here, so I don't want to bother you too much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your attention, and thank you again for this opportunity to showcase our project.
Thank you, Maya. Now, I think it's time for open the discussion. We have collected 3 questions, and I think we can start with the first one. I would like you to hear your thoughts about how can we effectively bridge the gap between scientific research, policy making, and on-the-ground practices to tackle land degradation. I don't know who wants to start. Maybe go ahead.
Yeah, I can start. I mean, the approach that we talked about now in is one step forward to it. I mean, to co-design, to including all of the important stakeholders into the process of finding their solution. So bridging the gap is making people closer. So co-design, involving everybody into not everybody, but who is important for the solution of the problem is important. If you have one way communication, or if you have just one level of stakeholder in the discussion, it's not, let's say, transparent, and you don't get the feedback from others that may be having different kind of problems or different outlook on the problems, which is why if you have the broad scope of stakeholders, you can look at the problem from different sides and then find a specific and tailored solution for each problem. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Maya. Diana, please.
I would go in line with the previous statement. Yes, it's in fact necessary for you to have the policy, the scientist, the landowner, the manager all together, especially highlighting potential problems from what decision you might take there. That is one goal, the co-creation, developed together, but this exchange of knowledge sometimes is really difficult. I remember, for instance, having a lot of stakeholders in a municipality in Portugal and trying to suggest them, look, there's this practice, we can implement it. It's very nice, it's very efficient, it's very effective. And there was mistrust there, and we need to fight against this obstacle in the sense of showing how actually in place, in situ, how these suggestions and these practices, for instance, for sustainable management practices, actually work. And it's very difficult, but this trust issue needs to be overcome at the different levels. And I would say even another thing, the policymakers also need a little bit of reality check very often. Sometimes we don't have the total vision of what happens in the land at the land level, and this information needs to reach out to the higher levels of the decision making. For instance, I would highlight those.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone wants to add something. Maya, please. Did you raise your hand? No.
Yeah, I did. I mean, absolutely agree. And that this is why, because when you start from bottom up, then that mistrust kind of, it doesn't disappear. But if you get the trust in the person that is talking to you, then not everything, it gets easier in the process. But also these communities, like sharing the knowledge and visibility of it, even though the researchers are all in line, but these communities and the talk about it, spreads the word further. So it's really significant to have it, and capacity building also through the, as I said, through the from down up and up to down.
Thank you. Catherine, please.
What you just reminded me of, I have a friend who's been working in Africa, I believe. Don't trust me on that. I'm not sure I can remember the country, but she's been working with farmers, and what she's developed is an app that the farmers have on their phone that allows them to talk to each other about what they're doing and whether it's working or not. And what she came to that because they were losing traditional knowledge because they had so many years using Western practices. And as they rediscover those older practices, they're able to share them through the app. So I'm just wondering if a technology like that might be useful in increasing trust.
Please feel free to talk, Maya. You are muted.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. Sometimes I jump in rudely interrupt, so that's why I turn off my mic before. Let's see. What you said is completely true. We went to Tunisia, and they have as the driest case study in Mona Lisa, in the scope of Mona Lisa. They are mostly turned to water harvesting through traditional methods, which was really amazing to see that they are using them and that they are spreading the word about that. How you can use reservoirs or dams or recharge wells, which are kind of traditional, their traditional water harvesting, which was really, let's say, important for our colleagues from Palestine, which for them to see how the traditional solutions from Tunisia they can incorporate in it, because in Palestine they mostly use treated wastewater because of the drought. Yeah, the resource is really very scarce. So this is one of the really good points to reintroduce traditional solutions and incorporate them with the new ones, and then find a balance between that. and of course build trust through it.
Thank you. Lotte Morris, please go ahead.
Yeah, hello everyone. So we are speaking about bringing the scientific research into the field, but actually there are plenty of activities that are very good for the soil, like don't burning, the pruning, and systematically, at least in Spain, farmers are burning, no, the pruning. So they do that because it's cheaper. It's cheaper than to destroy the pruning, like to yeah, to break it in small pieces, no? So sometimes it's small changes that can make a lot, but since it's difficult to do these kind of things, I don't see the point about, because it's simple things that we can do, no? So maybe having like a network of this kind of machines that can destroy the pruning, or maybe making biochar with these materials. But even if this, I mean, is something that is new, farmers reject to do this kind of things, even if we can present them scientific research, experiments around the world, and these kind of things. No? So I wonder how we can change the mind of the farmers, because actually the law in Spain is like preventing this burning, like with banning, but we are not promoting, only make kind of a repression of that. So I wonder if somebody have this kind of answers to stop burning in the farm areas. Thank you.
Go ahead, Diana.
Well, you're talking about prescribed burning, right? Just to be a little bit more precise, and because if let's say like it, depending, actually there's a good overlapping of the fire-prone areas and actually areas under degradation or desertification until a certain level, and is usually areas that are under more pressure. Yes, and there's a general concept that prescribed burning or burning in general of residues is not really well accepted, not really proposed, or even forbidden in many places. But despite that, the older practices actually say it's not too bad, and if it's done in good conditions, and actually it's not too bad. I can name you a lot of ecosystems which burning is an essential part of the ecosystem for forests to thrive. And it depends on which the conditions are made. I understand the point of concern. It's just that, but I do agree that at least we need a consensus between the practices we need to suggest or the things we need to improve. And for instance, in this particular case, this discussion, small discussion we are having here, if this consensus doesn't exist, it might be a little bit tricky. So I would start with things that are really easy and straightforward and everybody agrees with. For instance, as a first approach to try to tackle land degradation in the first step. I don't know if I made my message clear, but I was just would like to bring a little bit of that every little case as a particularity. It's not so easy, the decision, and establish some of the things like that.
Yeah, I was speaking about agricultural land, not forest or prescribed burning.
Yeah, but agricultural land burns significantly in Europe, for instance, and it starts mostly because of a situation like that. It is bad and good, depending on depending. But I see your point. Yeah.
I think we can now jump for the next question. The second question is, what role do living labs and lighthouses, such as the one presented by Maya of the Mona Lisa project, play in scaling up solutions to land degradation and desertification, and how can they better support by the European Union? I don't know, maybe Niles or Maya, you can say something about it.
I can comment about what I've gathered from our partners that are technical partners. So it's really important to see what works where, and something can work in a lab on a small scale, but it can't work in Crete, where you have acres and acres of land to have even a fence to make multi-paddock grazing systems, because you have so much land to cover and to own, because this is what we've seen in Astarusia case study. So much space and whatnot. So it's really necessary to have this contact with stakeholders, with people that are doing the activities on land, and to have contact directly with them to see what works for them and what is actually possible in reality, not just in our labs and in our small fields and whatnot. So maybe for them it doesn't work, the multi-paddock grazing system, but maybe collars, GPS collars will work. So something for something. So this is something that we've seen in the case studies, and how the case studies, working with people, working with stakeholders, so they can say, we can imagine that this is a good solution. And then when we have a contact with farmers, they say, okay, we tried that 3 years ago, didn't work. But then we go to another case study, they didn't hear about that, and it kind of works for them. So this is something that needs to be acknowledged. And this is why I think living labs, lighthouses, case studies are really important. They give another, let's say, a layer of difficulty for a project, because you need to have stakeholders that want to collaborate with you, acknowledging the previous part of discussion and the hesitancy, but also it also give you a real perspective on how the solution work in real life.
Thank you. I don't know, Deanna or James. James, okay, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah. Well, no, I have a question about the living labs approach, and that mainly has to do with, to what extent is anybody tracking the financial impacts of different techniques? I'm beginning to work in Europe, but I've mostly worked in the United States for the last many years, and worked a lot in regenerative agriculture projects, and it was very important for us in terms of dissemination. I think the biggest barrier, the biggest resistance we had from other farmers and ranchers in adopting techniques was the fear that the new approach would not be profitable, and that they would take a great risk and lose a lot of money. And so, going back to the question of how can the EU support this, obviously providing financial support for farmers and ranchers who are willing to risk transitioning to new methodologies, because often it takes several years to obtain a successful yield when you're transitioning like this. So economic data seems like a very important piece of information, not just the how do we do this, but what is the impact going to be on me as the farmer? Thank you.
I don't know if Niels want to say something about that, or yeah.
I will go
I
after
can
you.
answer.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So, so one of the purpose exactly from the living labs or the lighthouses is actually demonstrate in experimental sites, novel practices, and actually be able to upscale and evaluate if these practices could have a return. You could measure the level of investment there and the profit. I would go for the also to the question of Carolina, how can the EU could support better these activities? And I think what is actually still needed, it's not, I don't think it's thought, is that these living labs and lighthouses need long-term funding, longer than it is, so you can keep these areas and you have a consolidated data saying, okay, this worked for many years in this place, and you have always a comparability point of view and for a longer period of time. And also showcase good examples for other land managers to go there and see, I actually can do this in my farm. I can actually, this is an excellent example how I would like to see my farm, and this is the type, exactly the same type of soil that I have. So I really would like to replicate this. However, I don't know if the long term is implicit, but for sure this would be at least my suggestion at the EU level. Thank you. And to reply to the economical part. Yeah.
Niels, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I really agree with the previous points. I think, generally speaking, there is indeed a very, very important role of the living labs within emission soil. And it's also very, very good that emission soil pays so much attention to the living labs, which is quite innovative within Horizon Europe, that they are aiming to have more than 100 living labs involving more than 1,000 sites on the ground. And these living labs are really, really important to provide examples, to lead by example, and as they are user-centered, placed in real life, involving multiple partners, I think they are an excellent place to create support among other land managers. And living labs are also important, I think, if we go back to the previous question on how to bridge this gap between scientific research and policy making and then on the ground practice. Living labs have also a very important role to play there. As they are crucial in translating scientific results to on-the-ground practices. It's really good that we have this approach within the mission soil, and indeed to support soil literacy, Diana. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that now we can jump for our last question. That is, what are the most pressing policy changes needed to accelerate action against desertification at a EU level? I don't know who wants to start or had something related to the previous questions.
Well, I can. Catherine, please.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I can wait.
Okay. When I was thinking about this question, I thought of a series of things that actually it's like the major obstacle, how difficult this could be. We worked a long path until we have an agreed soil monitoring law. It's not perfect, but the implementation itself, it's going to be very challenging, and it's improving through time, because it needs to actually be fit for purpose. This would be one of the key points, because if you have a monitoring system, which is what this law allows, then I think all the rest will come and will help us to identify the areas that we need the most attention from our side. That is one point. Another thing is to try to build, to have a EU coordinated action for desertification. From my perspective, that I didn't approach this subject very deeply, it looks quite scattered, and I think we need to have more integration on the knowledge we have and how to solve all the problems all together, because individual countries, sometimes they have their own actions, own experience, and the sharing of this experience would be easier. We will need to find at least a way to consolidate all these things together towards creating laws and regulations that would push for the restoration and the correct management of the particularities of these areas, which is very, very necessary. That will be my 2 points. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine, I think.
Okay. For me, over here in the States, what we've looked at is water retention to keep the rain that falls is really an important kind of basic step, and it gives lasting long-term effects and has a lot of side benefits. So I think there's a sense of integration that I get from that also. So looking at ways to request that new uses of land understand the natural patterns of water flow before they do any sort of disturbance, and really utilize that information in how that land is used, whether it's for agriculture or building, is one approach that we're looking at. And I'm just wondering if thinking about runoff as a monitoring or measuring capacity, that all land should prevent runoff, and then sort of leaving the options of how to do that open to whoever's got the land, but being able to monitor that might be something that would have a variety of impacts with just one solution.
Thank you. James, I think it's your turn.
I like that runoff idea, Catherine. Okay, so my question, I'm in the area around Valencia, Spain, and I have a question about unmanaged lands, specifically lands that have seen declining agricultural productivity over the last many decades, and then are sort of abandoned or seemingly unmanaged, and to what extent that is a site where we're witnessing accelerated desertification, and what kind of policy changes might, in that case, be used to sort of do, some kind of restoration or remediation on lands like that, which might be privately owned but are not being actively managed. Thank you.
Thank you. Niels, it's your turn now. I don't know if you want to add something. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, but I don't have an answer to the question previously raised. So maybe if someone else wants to come in to answer the questions raised there. If not, I will make my point, which was actually to add on the points that Diana was making. I think the proposed methodology, as I showed in my slides at the start of this meeting, will be an important step for policy actions. I think that this proposed methodology, once adopted, can be an important tool, as we then have an agreed methodology to assess land degradation and desertification, and that can help harmonized action at the scale of the EU. And also it will give us a a tool to communicate, a dashboard on land degradation, a dashboard on desertification at the EU scale. And we see it from our use of soil degradation dashboard that such a dashboard, such a tool can be a very powerful communication tool, communicate to the wider public, to create a support base, but also a very powerful tool towards policymakers to show the importance of policy actions and to highlight the need for policy actions and to see the results of previous policy actions taken. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone wants to share. Maya or Alexandros, one of you, please go ahead.
Okay. I just want to check, James, I'm sorry, I didn't, your question was about, does land abandonment significantly
is that a factor?
Yeah,
is it a significant factor?
Yeah, it has. We identified land abandonment as one of the drivers of land degradation, desertification, especially in Greece, in Crete, because abandoned land is more susceptible to fires when the drought comes, when the dry part of the year hits, and when you don't have resources to manage it, because everybody is going to go with their own land and to protect their own land. But what happens with land that it's not let's say nobody's, but they are trying to cover that with this is something that I heard just researching Crete because I love it. Maybe somebody can fix me if I'm not saying if I'm saying something that it's not true, but I've heard that they have different programs on how to encourage people to take over land that is abandoned, so they can protect it in that way. So that's what I know. That's from our experience and knowledge that we got from case study in Australia.
Okay, I would not be surprised if something similar was happening in Spain.
Exactly. Yeah. Let me check.
Thank you. Alexandros, please.
Thank you. Yes, I think this question is to Niels and Diana, probably on the EU Soil Observatory. So briefly, I work in, so SpongeWorks is a Horizon Europe project working, it's in mission soil, but also climate and ocean waters. So basically it's one of and we work on more projects which are, let's say, at the interface between soil and water and soil and climate. And I think there's this drive, there's some new projects coming out also speaking about the soil-water nexus. And I think aiming to show, let's say, go beyond specific soil properties, but because I work in communication dissemination mostly, so to be able to show to the public, and not only to the public, that, you know, these micro soil processes, they have very real macro impacts in terms of floods and droughts and, you know, very visible impacts that normally you don't think about. But my question is specifically, let's say we are working in SpongeWorks, which is about increasing the water retention capacity of landscapes. And so what is the best way to feed our results, our data, let's say to within the EU Soil Observatory? I see there are working groups on specific themes. I didn't see one specifically on water, for example. I'm sure it's tackled elsewhere, but should we aim to in some way to, let's say, enrich or expand or integrate our work in the Soil Observatory?
Niels, you want to respond on the interaction of soil? I can talk about the water holding capacity later.
Yeah. Well, what I can say is that for sure, your work can be integrated in user work. For instance, in our soil degradation dashboard, we are constantly looking for improved indicators. And if your work can provide an improved indicator, then for sure it can be integrated in our dashboard, and that will be very, very useful. Another point is that within emission soil we have these clusters. We have also clusters on indicators and on other topics, and I think that are also very useful places where emission soil projects can work together on this type of things and can come up with a proposal on indicators or whatsoever to be included in, for instance, the work of the USO. Diana, please.
And if I can say in what concerns the water retention capacity of soils, there is in fact an indicator in the soil monitoring law to tackle this precise point on water retention. Is not ideal, but it's fit for the survey that is expected for each member state. It's not like having a soil moisture sensor. We cannot do that. We don't have that capacity, but we have some indicators already in the monitoring law that tries to address this matter. And basically, so I would say to you, if you wanted to engage with the EU Soil Observatory, either by a cluster like Niels mentioned, or because you have a data set that could be interesting to showcase in our landing page, ESDAC, just contact us. And because, for instance, I also, before I came to the GRC, I also put there data sets and maps from other modeling before, and it's rather welcome. We have a preference for peer review publications, or but we can talk about it if you want to contribute, because I think it's quite well related with this precise indicator of water retention. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We are running a little bit out of time, but now I would like to ask each one of you to scan this QR code and share with us what we have learned with this meetup, and share successful practices in combating land degradation.
Okay.
If you want further, Dave, I can share my screen and present the results of the poll, since I have the Mentimeter open.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Stop sharing mine.
Okay. And here it is. Sorry. Share screen. Okay. So we have the answers so far. Voting program. Okay. Also, if you want to provide some best practices on the Living Labs implementation or in this type of community integration for soil protection, we are also open to that.
Did you close the survey? I'm unable to make a new entry.
No, the survey is open. It's strange that you cannot vote. Let me see. Can you please try again? We can also share the link after the meetup. And once we have more results, we are also receiving some results here right now. We can compile all of them in a report or even in a communication activity in our LinkedIn so that we can share with you the results from this profitable discussion we had today. We are receiving more.
Let's just wait one more second. I don't know. Then we can jump to our next slide.
Google perhaps faster.
So I think that we
Okay.
can
Yeah,
move
yeah,
on,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
Thank you. And now it's time for let's take a group photo to share in our social media. I don't know if we have with us someone from Youth Makers Up.
Yes. Hi, Caroline. I'm here.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Yes.
I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Once you're all ready. Because you appear in several slides, I will take 3 photos. So we will start with the first one. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. The second one. 3, 2, 1. Got this one as well. And a third one. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. I got it all. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we finish, I would like to encourage you to sign the Soil Manifesto. Here you have the QR code to scan it and to get more information. And before we finish our meetup, we are going to present you our upcoming events. Our third meetup is scheduled to happen in the 25th of September. And now I will give the floor to Olivier to talk a little bit more about the first bootcamp. We cannot hear you. Also, Olivier is facing some troubles with the sound. Let's just wait a few more minutes if Olivier can be able to join us.
Olivier left the meeting, but I think we can summarize
think so.
basically. Yeah, to
Yeah,
not
go
spend
ahead.
much time from the community. Basically, Olivier is the partner who is responsible for organizing the bootcamps for SoilTribes. And we are going to conduct the next bootcamp that is fully dedicated to the community of practice here in Porto, Portugal. So in the 7th and 8th of October. And currently we are launching a poll and a call to all of the community of practice members to submit their solution or their challenge for the bootcamp. And based on the topics and the challenge that you submit, you can be selected to have all the travel expenses covered and to join us physically here in Porto. So we are going to start, and we are in the phase of receiving all the challenges from the community of practice members. Olivier shared as a reminder in the chat the link for the submission form and also some details about the challenge and about the bootcamp. So this message is more targeted to the community of practice members. Just remind that you have this deadline of the 23rd of July, which is tomorrow. Probably if we receive more challenges, we can postpone it, but the deadline is tomorrow. We already received some of them, and we are going to cover 10 spots per pillar. So we have 4 pillars in the community of practice, and we are going to find 40 participants to join us physically here in Porto. In addition to the travel and to all the expenses related with travel and accommodation covered, the 4 top ideas can also give a grant or a support of 5,000 euros. That's why Olivier wanted to do a presentation, which is a very good value in order to bring from the paper to the reality the solutions you are going to develop during the bootcamps. So this is just a kind of reminder for you to, if you are interested and are a member of the community of practice of the SoilTribes, submit your challenge until tomorrow. James, basically what we are going to do is, since we have a lot of, we have more than 100 members involved in the community of practice, and we are only going to find 40 to participate here physically. What we did is to try to define a criteria. That's why we are asking for those who are interested to submit the solution so that we can, based on the criteria selected by the technical partners and the pillar members, we can select the best ones to join us physically. Unfortunately, we do not have budget to bring you all on board. That would be very good. That's the criterion we found. Thank you so much for your question.
Thank you. And I think that's all for today. Please stay connected with us, with our project. Here you can scan our website and subscribe our newsletter. And if you have any question, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and Luis. You have our contacts here. And I think that's all for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much
you,
for
everyone.
your,
Thank you.
for your questions.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.